Hi, my name is Emily Turpak and I am a real estate agent in Philadelphia and the surrounding suburbs in Pennsylvania and South Jersey. In this video, I'm going to talk about whether or not you should offer a commission to a buyer's agent when you list your home. If you've been following the news, you might have seen the rather large lawsuit against the National Association of Realtors. And that is in response to the agent's commission and what is required of sellers. Technically, in our area, sellers have never been required to give a commission to a buyer's agent, but it's a super common practice, so it's rarely been challenged. And as a seller, you might be curious if you really need to pay a commission to a buyer's agent, or if you can skip it and save yourself some money. In the end, it'll be 100% your decision, but I at least want to give you a few things to think about so that you can make the right choice. First, let's say there is a buyer who is interested in your property, but you're not giving a buyer's agent commission. And because they can't afford to pay their agent out of pocket, they move forward with the property and go unrepresented. Now, let's think about how that could play out. Buyers often rely on their real estate agent for advice and guidance. Think back to when you bought and how many questions you had. So if that element is missing and they now need to navigate the home buying process by themselves, things could get interesting. Let's say they do a home inspection and 27 items come up, which isn't super uncommon. They might expect that you'll take care of every single repair and that it's totally standard, which it's not. Whereas if they had an agent representing them, that agent could explain upfront how the home inspection process works and that it's customary for buyers to only call out safety issues or things that will affect the value of the home, that they shouldn't request a new water heater just because it's old, because you and I know that even though it's old, it still works. So technically, it's not failing. Now let me paint a different picture. Most agents will suggest that their buyer use a local lender who knows the local fees and give them a couple of recommendations. But now the buyer for your house is going unrepresented and decides to work with a lender out in Arizona that they found online. Now, because the lender isn't local, they aren't aware of the transfer tax rate in, say, Philadelphia, which is 2.14% of the purchase price. On a $500,000 house, that's almost $11,000 in transfer tax that the buyer will owe. However, since the lender doesn't know what the transfer tax rate is, it's not calculated into the buyer's closing cost sheet. And it's not until a few days before closing, when the loan goes through its final underwriting process, that the transfer tax rate is flagged. It's now brought to the buyer's attention that they'll now owe another $11,000 in cash at closing. However, they don't have the funds for this and can no longer close on the house. So now you've taken your house off the market for 45 or 60 days and have to put it back on, except interest rates went up in the meantime and the market has shifted and not in your direction. Or now it's almost Thanksgiving and relisting during the holidays is the last thing you want to do. Now, if the buyer was working with an agent from the beginning, that agent could have pointed them in the right direction with a local lender or even caught the mistake on the estimated closing cost sheet before the buyer ever even put an offer in. Another point is that your listing could be passed over by a lot of buyer's agents. Let me give you a scenario. Say there is an agent who represents a buyer, and that buyer asks if they can see your property that weekend. An agent will usually look up the listing on the MLS, flip through the photos, look at the specs to see what about this property is piquing their client's interest. Further down the listing is the listing description, who the listing agent is, and the commission being offered. If the commission offered is significantly lower than what is typical in the market, or if there's no commission offered at all, that agent might start looking for red flags to call out to their client, essentially to deter them from being interested in the house. Now, is this an illegal practice? Sure. Will it stop agents from doing it? If I'm going to be honest, probably not, because what they're doing can't be proven. An agent might say to their client, hey, I took a look at the seller's disclosure for that house and it looks like it will need a lot of work. The roof is old and the water heater and HVAC are all past their expected life. Or they might say, hey, did you notice that the backyard doesn't look that private? I don't know if you're gonna like this one. They might plant seeds in their client's head that'll make them say, actually, let's just skip that one. But maybe they would have been able to get you to pay for a home warranty for the old systems in the home. Or maybe they would have been open to planting taller shrubs or trees for more privacy, but you'll never know because they passed on your listing. And finally, if the buyer has to pay for their agent's commission out of pocket, they're simply not going to be able to afford as much in terms of a house. That means you'll reduce your pool of potential buyers. And when it comes to selling your house, You want the most amount of people to walk through your front door as possible. This is going to give you the highest chance at getting the best price and the best terms for your house. So as a seller, it's worth thinking about how cutting out a buyer's agent's commission can affect your listing and cost you more money and more of a headache in the long run. Thanks for watching. Be sure to tap that like button and click here to subscribe. And for more videos, click here and here.